I am the last emperor of man. The celestial emperor's daughter, Liuli, loved me deeply, vowing to marry none but me. Later, when I was falsely accused of colluding with demons, the gods wanted the celestial emperor to execute me, but only Liuli opposed it. She knelt for 99 days, begging for my life to be spared, and instead, I was sentenced to punishment in the underworld. Hell's minions sawed off my legs, gouged out one of my eyes, and tortured me daily, destroying my cultivation. My screams echoed throughout the 18 levels of hell. When my sentence was served, I rushed towards Liuli's celestial palace, only to overhear the celestial emperor asking Liuli, "You framed Li Nianin, causing him to suffer so much. Don't you feel even a shred of remorse?" Liuli coldly replied, "Only in this way will he be grateful to our god clan and obedient to our every command. Besides, for Xiang to gain eternal life and become emperor of man, he must be sacrificed, his blood and fate exchanged. In the next life, I will personally welcome him into the celestial register of the gods and stay by his side." It turned out all the affection was a lie. My heart turned to ashes, and I vowed to repay them in kind with my sword and my life. "This sword shall judge, let the gods atone. This sword shall slay, let the yellow springs have their due." Inside the celestial palace, the father and daughter were still talking, and I was struck as if by lightning. Why not protect Li Nianin's soul and help him rebuild his body? Why force him to be reincarnated? I heard that in the underworld, he constantly calls out for you, and I watched both him and Xiang grow up. The celestial emperor sighed softly, seemingly unwilling. Liuli paused slightly, then shook her head, saying, "His prestige is too high, Xiang's position as emperor of man is unstable. Besides, Xiang is more obedient, which is what father needs." Her eyes were cold, her mind clearly made up. "It seems Li Nianin must be sacrificed." The celestial emperor's gaze was complicated. As long as Xiang securely holds the position of Emperor of Man, attains eternal life, and comprehends the great Tao, Li Nianin's suffering is justified. Moreover, he won't be lonely in the next life with me by his side. Liuli raised her chin high, her indifferent tone mixed with a hint of pity. I had originally hoped that Liuli would help clear my name. But little did I know, she was the mastermind. I was just a pawn from beginning to end. I was so angry that my chest felt tight, and I spat out a mouthful of blood, collapsing to the ground. The two inside the palace were alarmed. They rushed out together, and seeing me on the ground spitting blood, they were both shocked and quickly helped me into the room to heal. "Nianin, having lost your legs, why did you come yourself?" "I would have come to you." Liuli held my hand, tears streaming down her face. She was so heartbroken, completely different from her cold demeanor in the palace. It made it difficult for me to tell what was real and what was fake. "Don't blame me for being cruel. You shouldn't have touched the taboo of the gods and associated with the demons. Seeing you like this now also pains me," the celestial emperor said with a face full of guilt, taking out a golden pill. "This is an ancient secret medicine that may help you recover from your injuries." The father and daughter must have thought that I would be grateful and pledge my loyalty. But I shook my head and said, "My foundation has been destroyed, and after my legs were sawed off, I was constantly soaked in the water of the underworld, full of death energy. Ordinary methods won't work. I need to recuperate in the immortal pool as soon as possible to rejuvenate, or it will be too late to recover." But I heard that Xiang is in seclusion in the immortal pool. Without the slightest hesitation, Liuli hurriedly refused, "No." Realizing that she had lost her composure, she softened her tone and continued, "Xiang's talent is not as good as yours, and cultivation is not easy for him. He is at a crucial moment. So Nianin, please wait." The celestial emperor then promised, "Although you have made mistakes, I have always treated you like my own son and will do everything possible to heal your injuries." Liuli added, 3 days later, there will be a god clan sacrifice. At that time, if you use your heart's blood as a sacrifice, it can dispel the gods' concerns. They will also remember old times and offer spiritual treasures and medicines to help you. What a calculation! At that moment, I clenched my fists, and the trace of confusion in my heart completely disappeared. I realized I was insignificant. Liuli's oath to the heavens was still vivid in my mind. She said, "Throughout the 4 seas and 8 wastelands, in heaven and on earth, you are the only one in my heart." She took my hand, smiling with deep affection. Now, for the sake of my sworn brother Li Xiang, she actually framed me for colluding with demons. And the Celestial Emperor, who always said he treated me like his own son, personally sent me to the underworld. They watched as I suffered through the 18 levels of hell. They allowed the hell's minions to saw off my legs, gouge out my left eye, and extract my immortal root. They listened to my cries of pain and remained indifferent. Instead, they wanted to defy heaven and use me as a sacrifice to exchange blood and fate for Li Xiang, helping him to become Emperor of Man. Everyone said that Liuli loved me deeply and that the Celestial Emperor was endlessly kind to me. But it was all a lie. Li Xiang was their darling, their precious treasure. But what did I do wrong? In fact, my talent was ordinary, but I didn't want to let down the Celestial Emperor's expectations, or be unworthy of Liuli, or bring shame to the human race with this Emperor of Man bloodline. I cultivated desperately day and night. To find a life-saving medicine for Liuli, I traveled thousands of miles, entering the demon clan's forbidden area alone, almost losing my soul. To protect the Celestial Emperor, I fought the demon clan for 10 days and nights alone. To protect the celestial realm, I rebuilt the barrier with my blood. On the other hand, Li Xiang slept until noon every day, only knowing how to eat, drink, and be merry, flattering and sucking up. He always hid in the back in everything. In the end, I became his wedding dress. Why? At that moment, I laughed in extreme anger. Liuli thought that I had seen the light and breathed a sigh of relief. "Nianin, everything will be better in the future. Take this pill from father first." She leaned into my arms as she used to. I would have smiled warmly in the past. Now, I only felt like I was holding a viper. But I didn't say anything, obediently took the pill and put it in my mouth, and then lay down to rest. After the father and daughter left the room, I spat it out. They thought I was asleep because of the medicine's power and were talking outside the door. "Father, you see how happy Nianin was just now." Just as I said, he must be very grateful in his heart. In the past, he would have gotten to the bottom of things before making a decision. 3 days later, when we exchange blood and fate for Xiang, the stone in my heart can finally be put down. Liuli smiled. "Very well." The Celestial Emperor took a deep breath. "Let Nianin suffer in this life for now, and we will treat him well in the next life." Hot tears streamed down. My heart turned to ashes. This was the fiancé I had loved since childhood. This was the Celestial Emperor I respected as my own father. Hypocritical and ruthless. They couldn't wait for me to die and pave the way for Li Xiang. Since they were unjust, then I would be heartless. Father. Your child should have listened to your advice earlier and not trusted Liuli and the others too much. Before his death, my father left me a sword. He told me not to mention it to outsiders, including the God clan. This sword contained the power of several generations of Emperors of Man and needed to be unsealed with my life and blood as a guide to unleash its world-destroying power. Later, because the Emperor of Man sword had too much demonic energy, I sealed it in the peach orchard. Now, it was time to take it back. I would use the blood and fate exchange 3 days later to summon the power of generations of ancestors and slaughter these ungrateful people. Having my legs sawed off, I could only use my hands to support myself, crawling step by step towards the peach orchard. But I ran into Li Xiang on the way. It turned out that he was not in seclusion. Liuli wanted me to stay in this wretched state. "Big brother, where are you going?" I used to be a head taller than him. Now, he looked down at me with a smug look. "Peach orchard," I said coldly. "Your legs are not convenient. Let me help you." Li Xiang's mouth curled into a mocking smile. No need. I can walk myself. But when I refused, Li Xiang picked me up. It was quite humiliating. Not only that, Li Xiang deliberately walked through crowded places, making the gods laugh. Oh my, isn't that the last emperor of man? Why is he being carried like a piglet? You forgot one thing. He is also the most beloved man of our celestial princess, haha. What emperor of man? What beloved of Princess Liuli? He's just a piece of trash who colluded with demons. I heard that the Hell's minions put Lin Yannin in a frying pan more than 100 times every day. Not only that, but Granny Meng, that old witch, also slept with Lin Yannin. She said he tasted especially good, especially tender. After mocking me, they respectfully saluted Li Xiang. They used to not even bother to look at Li Xiang. Now that I had lost power, they were kicking me when I was down. What weather vanes! They didn't even think about who helped them rebuild the barrier, who led the warriors of the human race to guard the border and resist the demons, and who helped them collect spiritual medicines and build temples for them to cultivate virtue. Everyone says that people's hearts are not what they used to be and that the God clan is radiant. But now it seems that including Liuli and the Celestial Emperor, they are all despicable rats. I did not collude with demons. I will never admit to this crime even if it means death. I couldn't bear it any longer and retorted. Then go die. Ha ha ha. The gods laughed again. What are you laughing at? Shut up. At this time, Liuli and the Celestial Emperor came quickly. The originally spectating Li Xiang immediately changed his attitude, quickly put me down, and then frowned and scolded the gods. My brother has contributed to the celestial realm. How can you mock him like this? The gods all shut up, but they were unconvinced in their hearts. Some were full of resentment. Some secretly sneered. Liuli rushed to my side, raised her hand and stroked my cheek, and said softly, I have sent people to investigate what happened before and will definitely give you justice. In the future, if anyone dares to say half a word about you, I will strip him of his immortality. It seemed like she was protecting me. In reality, everyone was acting, just to fool me. I felt a chill in my heart and couldn't help but take half a step back, silently walking towards the peach orchard. This. Liuli looked surprised. Big brother must be depressed. I'll go comfort him. Li Xiang pretended to be concerned. Okay. Liuli didn't think too much and nodded slightly. I had just dug out the Emperor of Man's sword from the soil when I heard Li Xiang's mocking voice. I thought you were hiding something good. It turns out it's just a rusty broken sword. Before the Emperor of Man's sword was unsealed, it was no different from scrap metal. Only the Emperor of Man's bloodline could sense it. So Li Xiang didn't know its power. Seeing that I didn't say anything, Li Xiang continued to provoke, my Emperor of Man brother. Do you want to use this broken sword to end your life? After all, you are already a cripple. There's no point in living. Don't worry, after you die, I will take good care of Liuli. He smiled happily. If you want it, I'll give it to you. I said indifferently. Yo, you're really good at pretending. Li Xiang curled his lips. Who doesn't know that you can give up your life for Liuli? How can you be willing to give her to someone else? But I'll tell you a secret. These days you were in the underworld, Liuli and I were inseparable. Her hair is so fragrant, her embrace is so soft. She said you are becoming more and more boring. Whether it's her or the position of Emperor of Man, everything is mine. I will take it all. Saying this, he laughed wildly. Earned by being a dog, is it? I said coldly. So what? It's better than you. Li Xiang raised his chin. I'm not afraid to tell you, 3 days later will be your death date. The sacrifice is fake, exchanging names and blood is real. Liuli thinks you can be reincarnated, but in fact, your soul will be scattered. In addition, I am not about to die, but Liuli is willing to believe it. My heart trembled. For a long time, I had treated him like a brother and tried my best to protect him, but he actually wanted my soul to be scattered. Are you thinking about how to escape? I won't let you succeed. Li Ziang cut his hand, grabbed the Emperor of Man's sword, and took several steps back, shouting, "Big brother, why are you hurting me?" As expected, they were birds of a feather. They were all playing the trick of throwing dirty water. Liuli flew over, and seeing that Li Ziang was injured and the rusty sword in my hand was stained with blood, she waved her hand and sent me flying. I fell and vomited blood, and my bones were about to fall apart. When I looked up, I saw Liuli hugging Li Ziang. "Ziang, how are you? Quickly take a pill." She looked anxious. I smiled miserably, feeling extremely sad. "Sister Liuli. I just wanted to ask Big Brother for that rusty sword, but I didn't expect him to suddenly get angry." Li Ziang looked aggrieved, and tears were about to fall. "What? Just this kind of trivial matter?" Liuli turned her head and glared at me. "Li Nianin, I think you are really possessed. Fortunately, your cultivation has been completely destroyed, otherwise Xiang would have been seriously injured." The Celestial Emperor followed closely and also scolded me. "It seems that I didn't punish you wrongly in the first place. With your actions, I'm afraid you really colluded with the demons. You have disappointed me too much. From today on, without my order, you are not allowed to step out of your room." How could I, a cripple, hurt Li Ziang? It was obviously easy to figure out. But they were only willing to listen to Li Ziang. I didn't bother to explain. I let them do as they pleased. For 3 whole days, I was alone in the room. No water, no food. No one even healed my wounds. It wasn't until the day of the blood and fate exchange that Liuli appeared. Seeing that I was extremely weak, a trace of pity flashed in her eyes, and she said, "I was too heavy-handed that day. But even if you are depressed, you shouldn't take it out on Xiang." Her words were full of complaints. I didn't answer, but stared at her and asked, "Now that I can't even hold chopsticks, do you still want me to use my heart's blood as a sacrifice?" "Of course! Let's go! Only in this way can we dispel the god's concerns, and Father can try his best to heal your injuries," Liuli said quickly. I was silent, carrying the Emperor of Man's sword on my back, letting her take me to the main hall. The gods gathered to set up a formation. "Today is your chance to atone for your sins. Don't disappoint me again," the Celestial Emperor said coldly. Liuli gently pushed me. The father and daughter were still acting. I didn't expose them and obediently walked into the formation. The gods all cast spells. Immediately, countless spiritual energies turned into chains that pierced through my body, lifting me into the air. Blood poured out, and I screamed in pain. Li Ziang then slowly walked into the hall, with a mocking sneer on his face. "Liuli! Why are you hurting me? Why?" I glared at Liuli. The gods thought that I had just noticed the abnormality, and a trace of disdainful smiles appeared on the corners of their mouths. "Nianin." Liuli looked at me, her voice trembling slightly. "Bear with it, it will be over soon. Yes, you won't remember anything in the next life," the Celestial Emperor also said. I laughed a few times miserably and chanted a spell. The Emperor of Man's sword instantly broke out of its sheath and absorbed my blood essence, as well as the spiritual energy of the gods in the formation. They were all dumbfounded. But I smiled. "Liuli, if you ungrateful people don't die, how can I die?" The Emperor of Man's sword buzzed excitedly, gradually fading its rest and bursting out with dazzling black light. "This sword shall judge, let the gods atone. This sword shall slay, let the yellow springs have their due." Sword energy broke through the main hall. At this moment, the gods were completely dumbfounded. No one expected that I could make a comeback in a desperate situation. They wanted to interrupt the spell, but they were powerless and could only watch as the spiritual energy was constantly absorbed by the Emperor of Man's sword. I don't believe you can turn the world upside down with a broken sword. Li Ziang didn't realize the seriousness of the situation and jumped into the formation, wanting to destroy the Emperor of Man's sword and absorb my blood. But as soon as he took half a step, he was sent flying by the power of the Emperor of Man's sword. He immediately fell and rolled several times, spitting blood, and muttered to himself, "Sister Liuli, what is going on?" "I don't know either." Liuli shook her head in shock. "He has a backup plan. There is something strange about this sword." The Celestial Emperor frowned and raised his hand to mobilize spiritual energy to interrupt the formation. But it was also absorbed by the Emperor of Man's sword, turning into endless demonic energy, wrapping around my body. The legs that had been sawed off slowly recovered at this moment. The scars on my body gradually healed. The foundation reappeared. My hair turned white. Even I didn't expect such a miraculous effect. I thought it was a desperate counterattack, killing one to make a profit, but I didn't expect it to be like a long-awaited rain after a drought. The gods were stunned again. Even the Celestial Emperor is helpless? What is the origin of this rusty sword? It can actually make Li Nianin rejuvenate. Not good, it is absorbing spiritual energy faster and faster, like an insatiable glutton. Their lips gradually turned white, and their expressions became more and more painful. Those with slightly lower cultivation were already vomiting blood. "Nianin, stop. Do you want to destroy the gods, destroy the celestial realm?" The Celestial Emperor clenched his fists and continued, "Using you to exchange blood and fate today is also to let you atone for your sins. But don't you think it's despicable and shameless to use this kind of demonic thing?" He reprimanded me sternly with a hypocritical and righteous expression, as if I had committed a heinous crime. He still wanted to treat me like a fool. "Nianin, stop messing around." Liuli shouted at me, "Didn't you say you loved me? Why do you have to be like this? Can't you even endure this little grievance?" It was obviously her fault, but she could speak so confidently. I slowly opened my eyes. "Liuli, loving you was the biggest mistake of my life. You're not worth it." Liuli was stunned, her face full of astonishment. At the same time, the Emperor of Man's sword revealed its original cold light, accompanied by patterns of dragons. Holding it in my hand, it felt like I could dominate the ages. Emperor of Man's sword. In the beginning, wasn't it destroyed? The Celestial Emperor was shocked. At this moment, the gods also vomited blood, each becoming old and frail, no longer with their former glory. I jumped to Li Ziang's side. He first shuddered in fear, then threatened coldly, "Li Nianin, what do you want to do? Do you want to commit murder in public again? The Celestial Emperor and Sister Liuli won't let you go." He thought that with the Celestial Emperor backing him, he would be safe and sound. "Nianin, stop now, and I will let bygones be bygones." The Celestial Emperor frowned and said in a deep voice, "Ziang is your sworn brother." Liuli also said, "His talent is too poor, and his life is about to end, so he had no choice but to exchange blood and fate. It won't hurt your soul. In the next life, I will personally welcome you into the immortal register. Can you bear to watch Ziang die?" I shook my head and smiled, throwing out a memory stone, reflecting the scene in the peach orchard that day when Li Ziang provoked me. 3 days later will be your death date. Your soul will be scattered at that sacrifice. I am not about to die, but Sister Liuli believes me. I want to take everything from you. I won't let you escape." Word by word, sentence by sentence, entered Liuli's ears. Her face was full of shock. "Do you see clearly? This is the man you cherish, the one you wanted to replace me." I sneered coldly. Liuli turned her head and glared at Li Xiang. "You beast, how dare you lie to me?" The Celestial Emperor was also furious. "Li Xiang, you deserve to die. If it weren't for worrying about you, how could Liuli have thought of the blood and fate exchange method?" Seeing this situation, Li Xiang panicked. "Sister Liuli, I did that for you. Didn't you say that Lin Yannin is like a log, extremely boring? Didn't you say that it was good to have me by your side? As long as Lin Yannin's soul is scattered, we can get married," he said repeatedly. "Shut up!" Liuli shouted and summoned her spiritual sword, piercing Li Xiang's chest. Li Xiang fell to the ground and quickly looked at the Celestial Emperor. "You said that I was more obedient than Lin Yannin and that becoming Emperor of Man would be more beneficial to the God clan. I am willing to be your dog. You can't just give up on me like this." However, the Celestial Emperor's face sank and he scolded, "Nonsense, you deserve to die." As soon as he finished speaking, he condensed energy and created a blade, also piercing Lin Yannin's body. At the moment of death, Lin Yannin grabbed my trouser leg and begged, "Brother, I was wrong. Save me, please, save me." But I watched coldly, and even until he died, there was no ripple in my heart. "Yannin. Now that the villain is dead, let's turn the page on this matter." The Celestial Emperor smiled at me. Liuli ran over and hugged me. "I'm sorry, Yannin, I was deceived by Li Xiang. Don't listen to his provocations. I never said those words. There is only you in my heart." She whispered softly in my ear. "Really?" I smiled self-deprecatingly. "Wasn't it you who framed me for colluding with demons? Wasn't it you who said that Li Xiang was the Emperor of Man needed by the God clan? Wasn't it you who said that for the sake of Li Xiang, it was right for me to suffer all the grievances?" Hearing my continuous questioning, Liuli trembled and quickly took a step back, looking at me in shock. "Was it Li Xiang who said it again? You can't believe it." Before she could finish speaking, I waved my sword and cut off her arms, replying, "I heard those things with my own ears." "Liuli!" the Celestial Emperor exclaimed, and with a flick of his sleeve, spiritual energy turned into wind, sweeping Liuli to his side, feeding her a few pills, and then mobilizing his divine power. Then, Liuli's legs gradually grew back. "Is this what you mean by doing everything possible to heal my injuries?" I looked at the Celestial Emperor and smiled coldly. Before the Celestial Emperor could answer, the surrounding gods started shouting first. "Lin Yannin, you are too presumptuous. How dare you hurt our Celestial Princess and offend the Celestial Emperor? You are just a mortal. Why should the Celestial Emperor save you? It is already a grace to keep you in the God clan. The so-called Emperor of Man is just a dog raised by the God clan. Kneel down and repent to the Celestial Emperor, and you can live, otherwise the Celestial Emperor will definitely crush your bones to ashes." Even though they had lost all their divine power, they still had a superior attitude and didn't take me seriously at all. "You guys are really noisy. Today, I will show you how mortals can destroy gods and demons." I pointed my sword at the sky. The originally clear sky suddenly became covered with dark clouds, and several lightning bolts fell, shattering the main hall, piercing through the bodies of the gods like black dragons. They screamed and wailed. They called out to the Celestial Emperor for help. Unfortunately, the Celestial Emperor only cared about protecting Liuli and didn't care about their lives at all. "Emperor of Man, spare us. We were wrong. You are qualified to stay in the God clan and enter the immortal register." They finally begged me for mercy. What gods? What immortals? Whoever wants to be one can be one. I snorted heavily. "Yannin, stop, it's all my fault. I'll bear it alone." Liuli's face was pale, and she watched helplessly as the gods were reduced to ashes, but she was powerless. Why bother apologizing to him? The Celestial Emperor stared at me coldly. "Lin Yannin, I'll ask you one last time, is this matter over?" If you agree, your marriage contract with Liuli will still stand, and you will be my son-in-law. You will still be the emperor of man of the human race. If you don't agree, don't blame me for being ruthless. The so-called letting bygones be bygones was nothing more than trying to recruit me, hoping that I would continue to work for the God clan, guarding the border and resisting demons for him. So, I replied, all the gods are guilty, and you are no exception. Very well, very well, very well. The celestial emperor was so angry that he said the words very well 3 times. Since you refuse a toast, you will be forced to drink a forfeit. I will crush your bones to ashes. And I will make the human race slaves forever. He soared into the sky, summoned the celestial emperor's sword, and opened the gates of the underworld. In an instant, countless hell's soldiers surged in, all looking down at me condescendingly, as if I were an ant that could be crushed at will. Don't do it, father. Liuli hurriedly got up and looked up at the celestial emperor, saying, we can't make the same mistakes again. Didn't you always feel sorry for Nianin before? Stop. It's all my fault for falling for Li Xiang. It's all my fault. At this moment, she finally admitted that her love had wavered. Now that Li Nianin has become a force to be reckoned with, if he cannot be used by me, the God clan will never have peace if he is not eliminated. The celestial emperor, who used to be kind and full of benevolence, righteousness, and morality, finally revealed his true nature. If you want to attack Nianin, then step over my dead body first. Liuli stood firmly in front of me. Why bother pretending? I sneered disdainfully, when I suffered all kinds of torture in the underworld, I didn't see you feel sorry for me at all. When you attacked me in the peach orchard and sent me flying, you didn't hesitate at all. Are you acting again now? At this moment, even if Liuli took out her heart and showed it to me, I wouldn't believe her. I'm not pretending. I really know I was wrong and regret all my previous decisions. Liuli was tearful, choking up as she continued, Nianin, I know you still have me in your heart. Why don't you and your father just back down? Tomorrow, we'll be married, with the sun and moon as our witness, heaven and earth as our judge. I didn't answer, I just sent her flying with a palm strike. I almost lost my soul listening to such bullshit vows before. Now, I only have one thought, kill every last one of the gods. You're asking for it. The heavenly emperor was enraged. The ghostly soldiers swarmed toward me. I chanted an incantation, and instantly, sword energy erupted, transforming into black dragons that soared into the sky, shattering the countless ghostly soldiers. So strong. Liuli's jaw dropped, she could have kicked herself. These ghostly soldiers were no ordinary spirits, they possessed a trace of the heavenly emperor's divine energy. Even the gods wouldn't dare face them outnumbered. Yet, I had shattered them in an instant. Even the heavenly emperor was stunned for a moment. He then conjured a massive spiritual projection, pressing down on me like a 5-finger mountain. Li Nianan. No matter how powerful you are, you're just a monkey, you can't escape my 5-finger mountain. Prepare to die. And terrifying pressure followed. Space cracked. The ground caved in. Streams flowed backward. This was the heavenly emperor's power. Then, the golden hand covered me. Liuli's heart trembled, and she cried out, Nianan. But then, endless demonic energy surged, piercing through the golden hand, leaving the heavenly emperor dumbfounded. I instantly appeared behind the heavenly emperor, unleashing an even more terrifying pressure than his, sealing off any chance of escape. You're just a mortal, how can you possess such power? The heavenly emperor's eyes widened, and a storm raged in his heart. I have to thank your blood-swapping, life-stealing formation, or I wouldn't have transformed to this extent. So, thank you. I pierced his back with a sword and added a kick for good measure. Boom! The heavenly emperor crashed to the ground, creating a massive crater, coughing up several mouthfuls of blood. His aura was a shadow of its former self. The tables had turned. Now, I stood in the air, looking down at the heavenly emperor, and said coldly, "Gods? You're nothing special. You used to treat me like a dog, now, who's the pathetic stray?" The heavenly emperor's face turned pale at my question. "Nianan," he said weakly, "I raised you since you were a child. Can you spare our lives, father and daughter? I'll even give you the title of Heavenly Emperor." "Raised me? You just wanted a dog to give to Li Xiang as a wedding gift," I replied with disdain. "Playing the sympathy card? I wasn't buying it." "That's not true." The heavenly emperor instantly burst into tears. "I truly regarded you as my own son, but for the prosperity of the gods, I had no choice. You can take everything in the celestial realm. Just leave the gods a chance to continue existing, please. I'm begging you." He knelt down, finally lowering his noble head. "Ha! How high and mighty you sound," I scoffed, and flung the emperor's sword. The heavenly emperor couldn't defend in time and was stabbed through the abdomen. Moreover, the emperor's sword was absorbing the heavenly emperor's divine energy, so he was visibly aging. Seeing this, Liuli broke out in a cold sweat, knelt, and kowtowed, "Nianan, please spare my father, it was all my idea. I'm willing to be your slave for eternity to atone for my sins." But I remained unmoved. "Nianan, what do you want to do to spare my father? Do you really want me to die?" Liuli's eyes were filled with tears. She looked utterly miserable. I laughed instead. "Fine, then go die." Liuli was completely stunned. She didn't expect me to respond like this. "Do it," I urged, just like she had urged me to change my name and blood for Li Xiang. "No!" the heavenly emperor shouted. "Father," Liuli said, smiling bitterly, "this started because of me, so I'll end it." She picked up a sword and plunged it into her abdomen, then looked up at me and said, "Nianan, is that enough?" "Not enough." I sneered, and with a thought, I commanded the emperor's sword to sever Liuli's limbs. Blood gushed out, forming a river. "Liuli!" The heavenly emperor howled in grief, struggling to crawl over and heal Liuli, but he was powerless. Before he could even mobilize a fraction of his divine energy, he coughed up blood himself. So, he took out pills. But the medicine was far from enough. So, he could only turn to me for help. "Nianan, are you really willing to watch Liuli suffer like this?" The heavenly emperor trembled. I remained indifferent. Compared to the torment I suffered in the underworld, it's nothing. "You." The heavenly emperor coughed up blood in anger. "Father," Liuli said, "don't say any more. This is the price I should pay. I let Nianan down. We could have been an enviable couple." Liuli was crying as she recalled the past. "When we first met, we were both very young." She was running in the peach blossom forest and accidentally bumped into me, knocking me over. She climbed trees to pick peaches and wove flower baskets to apologize. She learned that I came from the mortal realm and dragged me around to tell me interesting things about the mortal realm. This went on for many years. No matter where we went to train, we were always together. Under the moonlight, she smiled innocently, leaning in my arms, calling me Nianan, Appa. Under the peach trees, I rested my head on her lap, listening to her ramble. When I guarded the border, she sent letter after letter, confiding in me. When she was poisoned by demonic energy, I ventured alone into the demon realm to find medicine, returning covered in blood, with no less than 1,000 wounds. She cried in distress, watching over me day and night. Event after event, mountain and sea witnessed, spring breeze remembered. How wonderful it was. Throughout the realms, in heaven and on earth, you are the only one in my heart. Liuli finally remembered her past vows. Nianan, I was wrong. I didn't cherish you. I wish my death could appease the resentment in your heart. She closed her eyes slightly. Alas! The heavenly emperor sighed and said to me, "This is my fault, spare Liuli. Do whatever you want with me." He never imagined that Li Xiang, whom he valued, was so useless, a good-for-nothing who only knew how to play petty tricks and become complacent. He never imagined that I could be reborn in despair and slaughter all the gods, turning the celestial realm upside down. Since you father and daughter protect each other so much, you might as well die together. My eyes were filled with endless killing intent, and I raised the Emperor's sword, frantically absorbing the spiritual energy of the entire celestial realm. "Nianan," Liuli said, "in the next life, I'll make it up to you. I'll be a beast of burden, with no regrets." Liuli desperately refused to open her eyes, only shedding tears. "Li Nianan, I took you in the first place. Do you really have no regard for our past relationship?" The heavenly emperor trembled. Since he had taken charge of the gods, he had never been so afraid. When awakening the emperor's sword, the memories of past emperors flooded in. The gods have always used various methods to enslave mortals. If the emperor showed the slightest disagreement, you would execute them, including my father. Therefore, the emperors of all ages have had a long-cherished wish to break free from the gods' control and refuse to be slaves. I swung the emperor's sword, slashing toward Liuli and the heavenly emperor. Sword energy stretched for 30,000 miles, like a falling meteor, with the power to destroy heaven and earth. "No!" the heavenly emperor cried out unwillingly. Then, he, along with the entire celestial palace, was submerged in sword energy. Dust rose thousands of feet, obscuring the sun and moon in the sky, and lingered for a long time. I tore through the void, forcibly opened the gates of the underworld, and barged in, turning everything upside down. I severed the Yellow Springs and the Bridge of Helplessness, stepped on the 10 kings of hell and Granny Meng, and killed all the ghostly servants who had humiliated me. When the souls of the heavenly emperor and Liuli enter the underworld, make sure they taste the torments of the 18 levels of hell. Anyone who dares disobey will have their souls completely annihilated. After leaving in order, I tore through the void and left. "Farewell, Emperor!" they kowtowed repeatedly. Returning to the mortal realm, I originally thought that the demon and monster races would take the opportunity to invade. But they didn't. Instead, they were surprisingly quiet and even sent tributes. Because one thing had spread throughout the 3 realms, the last emperor in this world was blessed with heavenly fortune and was terrifyingly powerful. In an instant, he slaughtered all the gods. First, he split the celestial palace with one sword. Then, he severed the Yellow Springs with another sword. After the souls of the heavenly emperor and Liuli were detained in the underworld, Yama personally used torture. "I am the heavenly emperor." The heavenly emperor roared. "How dare you move me? Do you want to be annihilated? Laughing stock, what heavenly emperor? You're just a remnant soul now, not even as good as a little ghost. The master of the 3 realms is now the emperor, you're nothing. You're just a toy in the oil pot, haha." The ghostly servants laughed in unison, just like the gods had laughed at me before. You kick me when I'm down. I want to see Li Nianan. Let me see Li Nianan. The heavenly emperor shouted loudly. "You deserve to see the emperor? Get in the oil pot." The ghostly servant threw the heavenly emperor directly into the oil pot. "Aw!" The heavenly emperor let out a pig-slaughtering scream. Of course, this was just the first level, endless torment awaited the heavenly emperor. The entire hell would echo with his screams. In contrast, Liuli remained silent from the moment she entered the underworld. She was expressionless in the face of humiliation. She didn't scream even when tortured. She murmured Nianan, Nianan all day long. Gradually, the ghostly servants lost interest and became too lazy to care. Liuli actually took the opportunity to escape from the underworld and found my residence. "Nianan! Nianan!" She called my name several times, wanting to rush to me, but was blown away by an external force. Because the palace was filled with the emperor's fortune, ghosts couldn't approach. Wouldn't you forget everything in the next life? Why bother looking for me? I blocked her with the words Liuli had once said. Nianan, Liuli said, I miss you. I don't want to be reincarnated, I don't want to drink Granny Mang's soup, I just want to be by your side. As she spoke, she rushed towards me again, but as before, she was blown away again. Give up, I said calmly. You can't get in no matter what, and you'll only have your soul scattered. It was all my fault before. You were so good to me, you loved me so much, but I let you down. Give me a chance to make it up to you, please. Liuli didn't listen to my advice, and kept trying to enter the main hall while admitting her mistakes. I was neither happy nor sad, just quietly watching.